Hey, welcome back. And one of the major things that I do is to help navigate through the whole inspection process. The inspector, when you're getting that inspection report, it's usually about 21 pages long, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. It's all regulated by the Texas Real Estate Commission because the, the right inspector is licensed and you're not supposed to operate without it. It can all be very overwhelming. But the one thing that you need to keep in mind as a buyer is number one, the inspection is not an opportunity for you to renegotiate the price of the home. The inspection is to go over the major items, stuff like scuffed up paint and cosmetic stuff like that. You don't like the shelves, you don't like the cabinets, whatever. You know what? That's part of the inspection only as it relates to the function. Does the door open and close? Are the cabinet doors opening and closing properly? It's not an opportunity for you to remodel the place at the seller's expense. The main things you need to be looking for, I'm going to tell you right now. Number one is the foundation and the structure. In North Texas, we have foundation problems everywhere. The house I just purchased right behind me, it had foundation work done to it. If the foundation work has been done recently, then it needs time to settle. Now, almost all foundation companies do a lifetime warranty. Sometimes it's transferable and there's a cost. In my situation, it was about $275. I've seen it as high as $500 and as low as $150. I would get that warranty transferred to you in the event that you have had foundation work done. Now, they will only warranty the work that they did. They won't warranty any new work, of course, but that's something critical that you need to have a look at. Your inspector will be able to pull out foundation cracks and in the walls and in the seams and the brickwork and stuff behind me. Always get a second opinion, maybe even a third opinion on a foundation contractor. Here's the problem in Texas. They're not regulated and they're not licensed. So it's almost a Wild West situation. And I have seen on a property that I just helped purchase, one company came in and said you needed 7 piers, which are the things that lift up the house. And another company came in and said they needed 18 piers. So who's right? You know, all I can do is help you navigate through that. And all a realtor can do is help you navigate through that and try to find you the best people and the best companies that are reputable that can help you honestly go through the process of that. The second thing, and this is really critical and it relates to the foundation, is the roof and the drainage. Not only the age of the roof, because if it's older than 10 years, you may have issues getting insurance on it. And again, roofers are not regulated in the state of Texas. So find a roofing company. They'll come out for free, just like the foundation people. They'll come out free and analyze all this. So get a roofer out there in addition to the inspector. If the inspector says, hey, you need to get a roofer out here and have a second look at this, do it. And then you have two people that you can go back to the seller on and say, listen, both of these people said you have hail damage or this is going on or that's going on. Those are repairs that you can likely ask for. And the drainage portion of this is, you know, a lot of these homes have gutters. Here, look, there's one of the downspouts right there. If they don't go into the ground, into a French drain system, or you've got a lot of dirt and stuff missing around where that water drains off to, or it's just low lying and it's just sitting there, you could potentially have some major foundation problems in the future. So again, talk to your inspector, let him recommend what is the best course of action for you to do. And listen, on inspectors, Get somebody that's not rushing through your inspection, that's been doing it for a long time. Don't get somebody that's just out of school. I know that everybody has to start somewhere, but don't let them start on your house. Let them start somewhere else. Number three would be the electrical and plumbing system. The plumbing is a little bit more difficult to figure out. I mean, they'll do pressure tests and they'll do certain things that they can do, but it's going to be, if you have slab leaks, a lot of these homes are made on slabs, they're not pier and beam. Those are going to be a little bit harder to identify, but the inspector is going to come through and check the pressure and make sure water is hot and cold all through the house. So that's not anything you really need to be concerned about. They'll help you, guide you through that as well. There are, in certain parts, not necessarily in Flower Mound, but in other parts of the DFW area, I've seen sewer problems where the drainage is part of the plumbing system that goes out to the sewer. That those have had to be replaced. Those can run from 10 to 10,000 up if they have to dig up the yard. They may recommend that you get a camera out there from a plumber to do an additional inspection. It's worth the money, believe me. On the electrical portion of this, and I don't see it too much in Flower Mound, because if you're in older parts of Dallas and Fort Worth, there are electrical panels that was produced by Sylvania and Federal Pacific. Those have been deemed unsafe. I own a condo. It has a Federal Pacific panel. The building hasn't burned down. It's been there since 1966. I'm a landlord. I'm not concerned about it. But when an inspector is doing an inspection, they're inspecting against this is 2025, current 2025 ordinances. So yes, you can't put in a Federal Pacific panel right now because actually they're not in business anymore, and Sylvania doesn't do it either. You can still get the breakers and stuff online, from what I understand. I've never had to do it before, but that's my understanding. So your electrical system, that's going to be a big deal. But most of the panels, they'll let you know if you need to call on an additional electrician, and there's all little nuances to it. So I'm not going to go into that because I'm not an electrician and I'm not an inspector. The fourth thing is the HVAC and the major system. So I'm talking about the heating and air conditioning. It does get cold here, not for a super long time, but the air conditioning, well, you got to have air conditioning here, and it's got to be working properly. If you have to replace an outside condenser unit, that can run you $6,000 minimum to $10,000. Even in the condo that I own, that we lease out, we replaced both units. Had two units, an indoor and an outdoor unit, and that cost us $12,000 3 years ago. And I know that this unit out here is what they call a split system, which I don't totally know what that means, but you've got two thermostats on the inside of the house and one condenser unit. My neighbor across the street yesterday had to have theirs replaced. So you're easily looking at $10,000 to $20,000 if that goes out. So either budget for it. If it's in working condition, you really cannot ask to get a new system. Seller's probably not going to pay for it. But take the time, and your inspector should tell you whether you need to call out a heating and air conditioning person to analyze this even further. The fifth thing, and this is major, is any water damage. If you see any water damage in the ceiling, it's probably from the roof, or it could be that your HVAC has backed up and leaked at some point. There's a drainage pipe that is notorious for getting stopped up. But if you see stuff along your windowsills and down below on the floor, you've got to address that, and it's got to be addressed with the seller. Now, sometimes, these sellers, unfortunately, will try to mask over that stuff and just paint over it. But your inspector should have a moisture meter, and that he can help you guide you through all that. Because if you don't get that fixed, you're going to have mold. You're going to have mold in the insulation up in the attic, and all that stuff needs to be replaced. And you don't want to get sick or have allergy problems from all that. And it doesn't get better, it gets worse. Bottom line is, don't freak out over the inspection. It is something that if you have the right inspector, they can walk you through what's important and what's not super important, but they have to identify everything. And I don't like the way the inspection reports are put together, but that's not my deal, because sometimes it scares people. But don't let it scare you, and don't let that be the reason for you to immediately walk away. Work with your agent, work with me, ask me comments or questions, and if I don't know the answer, I'll get them from somebody. I'm Chris Hooper, Chris Hooper Realty. We'll see you next time.